morning everybody. Today I'm going to teach you how to make these Bible covers with a wider back. You can make them with a narrow back or whatever size you want. In South Africa there's 3 common size books, and I believe most of the world except America and Canada, which use composition or notebook sizes. These are of A4, as you can see it's A4, A5, and this one is a A6. Basically each of them is half of the other one. These are the common sizes that we use in South Africa. So most of my covers do come in these sizes, but I did add some of the sizes that I received as requests from US customers for the composition and for other size notebooks that's in the file. If there is not a size to match your book, I'm going to show you now how to measure your book, and then you're going to resize the file to your specific requirements. Now, because we are making full book covers, we're going to look at the size of your book and not the size of your hoop at this stage. So we don't adjust the pattern according to your hoop, because it's no use if you only have a 5x7 hoop and you want this to fit in there. You would actually need to somehow split it, and it won't make for a very nice split file because we've got this bulky area here that has a raised effect. Now if we split it, there's going to be a line going through which would look awkward. I will at a later stage make covers for the 4x4 and 5x7 hoop, which will be in panels, or I will work something out so that it looks still looks attractive, maybe around, and then you fill around that. But later on the 4x4 and 5x7 size. You can, however, if you've got the 5x7 hoop and you do have a 5x7 book, you can make, for example, the A6 size is a very small little notebook, so this can be done in the 5x7 hoop. So even 5x7 hoop people can at least start to make a book cover of this size, but you won't be able to at this stage make the very large composition book. For that we will need a split file, and I will have a set later on that you can maybe do a blank set where you can add your own designs onto it to make it more versatile. Let me show you how to measure your books. So you'll take your book, lay it flat in front of you, then measure from the top to the bottom, and be very specific on the size. Don't round it off. In this example, it's about 183 millimeters long. So I'm not going to round it off to 180, otherwise my slip is going to be too small. And always add 1 centimeter, because you're going to lose half a centimeter at the top, half at the bottom, to make provision for the satin stitches at the edge. So basically our book need to be from there to the inside of the satin. That is the size of your book that's going to be. So add for me 1 centimeter, that's half a centimeter at the top, half at the bottom that you're going to add, or 1/4 of an inch at the top and 1/4 of an inch at the bottom that you will add to the size that you're going to write down, because that's the size you're going to resize your file to. Then I'm also going to measure the width of the book and write that down, and again add for me 1 centimeter to that to make a provision for the back that's going to be stitched on and for the satin at the front. If you have a very large hoop or a large enough hoop, this file for example was done in just one single hooping, so I didn't really need to measure the back separate. What I did here is I just took my book and I measured all around to the back, and I've added 1 centimeter to that, and this is the size file that I've used. So if you do the all-in-one hooping version, measure your book around and then resize your file according to that. Just make sure that it still fits in your hoop after you resized, of course. If we're doing the 2 hooping files, so we're going to do the front, we're going to do the back, and then we use the quilt-as-you-go method with the back to add that onto to create a larger book cover, but in a small hoop. So we've measured now the top, we've measured there, and we're also going to measure the back of the book. Now for normal exercise type books, like these notebooks, they are very small. So I've made, in my previous tutorial, I said to cut 1 inch, and you're going to cut the other one 2 inches, then fold it in half, so you have 2 strips of 1 inch for the back. That is plenty for this size books. For this one, it's going to be a little bit wider, so you're going to, this is 3 centimeters, so I'm going to make it 4 centimeters, that I'm going to cut one strip, and the other strip I'm going to cut 8 centimeters double and fold it in half. I'll show you later on. It will all make sense when you do. If you are going to use a vinyl like I've got here, or a very thick batting, then I suggest you add maybe another ½ centimeter to make provision for the thickness. I'm using a very thin quilter's needle punch batting. You can see how thin this is, but it adds enough loft to the design to make it stand out pretty. So you really don't need a very thick fabric if you're going to use scuba knit fabric, because it's got a 4-way stretch. It gives maximum bounce to your design. So let's get started on making these book covers. First I'll show you what you need. Now, after you measured your book, you know exactly what size of fabric you need. We're going to use, just bring this one back. We need fabric for the front. So I've cut this piece, and I've also cut a piece for the back in your vinyl. This is a upholstery vinyl. You get different embossed looks. It's like a synthetic leather almost. Then you need 2 pieces of your scuba fabric. I've cut them the same size as my covers. That is for the inside, where the picture is going to go on. When you open the book, we need a lining. I'm going to use this floral fabric, and again 2 pieces, one for the front and one for the back. We need 2 pieces of, I just used vinyl in the front. I've just cut 1 piece. I'll just cut it in half, one for that side and one for that side. For your back, you already measured the width of your book, and you've added your quarter inch seam allowances. So that is my the back middle section. And then for the front section, you've got double that width, fold it in half and iron it nice and flat. I would suggest not using both layers in the vinyl, because the vinyl is very thick and it's very hard to work with if you've got more than 1 layer. That's why I also left this just with, it won't unravel or anything, so I just cut a single piece so it's not folded in half like on my previous tutorial for the other book covers. So that's basically what you need. Oh, and of course your batting. 2 pieces of batting, one for the front and one for the back. On stabilizer side, you can use cutaway or you can use tearaway. It doesn't really matter. If you use a tearaway, this is the tearaway I'm going to use today. On the previous tutorials that I've done, I've used cutaway. So I'm just showing you guys that it will work on tearaway as well. You don't necessarily need to use cutaway. So don't be too fussy on your stabilizer. Whatever you'll prefer to use is fine. Just make sure, because this is quite a dense satin stitch on the edge, that you don't use a too thin tearaway that it will break during stitching. So this is a quite thick, I think this is an 85 gram tearaway, but also it doesn't really matter if you have a thinner, like a 70 gram, just use 2 layers or 3 layers if you really want to up on that and make sure it's nice and strong. So you don't really need to go out and buy specific stabilizers, just use what you have. If it's thin, use more layers. That's basically it. Then of course I just want to also let you know that you need a piece of ribbon. I forgot to tell you that previously. That is for your closure. And the elastic, I didn't add it in this book because it's for my son, and this is quite lace. He's not really suitable for a boy. But you're going to need to use your piece of elastic that you use to keep your pages together. I'll just show you. You can use this as a little bookmarker. So let's get started on making these book covers. pure cutaway stabilizer. We're now going to take it to the machine and stitch the first step, which will just be an outline just to show you exactly where to place your pieces of fabric that you already cut. After you stitch the first step, as you can see there's just a run stitch outline of where to place your fabric. You're now going to first add a layer of batting. Use 505 spray and adhere your batting. You're going to float it on top. Just the 505 spray is going to keep it in place. Then I'm going to again spray with 505 spray. And now we're going to add our scuba fabric. We're going to layer up, we're going to do a reverse applique method. So we're going to layer up 3 pieces of your batting, your white fabric, and then we're going to put our leather on top. I know it sounds crazy, but you'll see how the design develops and what's going to happen. So after I've adhered my scuba fabric, that's going to be the white, I'm now going to add the leather. Now I'm not going to spray my vinyl or my leather with 505 spray, as you want to cut out just the top layer and leave the white. If you spray with spray, you're going to battle to get that off. So do not spray this layer of your leather or your top fabric that you're going to use with 505 spray. If you are worried that it will move, use some sticky tape just to keep it from slipping or moving anywhere. Just on the corners is fine. I sometimes don't even add anything. It just depends on how your machine works, and if you are worried, or if you use the thick batting and there's not enough space between the foot of the machine and the needle plate, then it might happen that the fabric starts to move. So yeah, just stick it down then and let's stitch the next step. Our next step, after you placed your 3 layers, your batting, your scuba and your vinyl, outline stitch to tack everything down. After that, a zigzag stitch was done to further make sure that your fabric stays in place. Then you can continue to stitch the outline area there and also the zigzag to tack down your centerpiece. So you can see how far we are at this stage. We now need to cut away this middle area. As you can see on the book that's finished, this area only has the white fabric. So we need to cut through this vinyl layer only. We're not going to cut through all layers down to the tearaway stabilizer. We're just going to cut the leather. The reason I did the reverse applique is instead of just adding another fabric on top, is the leather pushes the batting flat. So if we just stitched our design, if I did it the normal applique way, your design will end up quite flat and it won't have this nice loft. So I decided to do the reverse applique, so we still have this, especially on this bigger one, you can see how far the batting actually pushes the fabric up. So what we're going to do is cut away this. So I use a little scalpel knife and I just push it in from the side. If you used fabric, it's much easier. The leather is quite hard. So just maneuver your scissors in there and make sure you only cut the top layer. There you can see you cut out a little window, and you're now ready to add your detail stitches on top of the white. After you've stitched all the quilting pattern and the detail in the middle, you can continue to stitch the satin. You will see there's 2 steps on the satin. It's the satin step, and then there's a decorative stitch going over the satin stitch. So you can continue to finish those 2 steps. You might have noticed that on some of my books, it's like there's a plastic sheet over. This is the plastic that I used. My son wanted a Bible cover for his Bible, but he was worried that the white fabric will go dirty very quickly, so I decided to add the plastic over so you can simply wipe it clean if necessary. This plastic you can buy from, we buy it from our local fabric stores. It's normally a plastic that they use to overlay on tables to keep the tablecloths nice and clean. Sometimes they even wrap lounge suites in the plastic to keep it from getting dirty. So what you will do is just add your, before you do the satin stitch, of course, place your plastic down, then simply continue stitching your outline and the trim as well. And then you will see when you take it out, the plastic will simply tear away, leaving just the plastic on the inside. That's just a little extra you can do if you like. We now finished the trim and we finished the edging. So now we're going to turn the design the wrong way facing you so we can do the back. We're going to add the lining. So you're going to take some 505 spray, then add your back fabric, smooth it out, and then use your flap piece. Just make sure you got it on the right side. It needs to be to the front, on the where the fingers of the hand is. Place that down. Do not spray with 505 spray this layer, as you will battle to get the fabric or your book cover inside. So I just use sticky tape just to keep it from moving on all four corners, and if you want to, you can even add a little piece in the middle. I'm going to go back now and we're going to stitch the edge, and then I'll be back to trim away all the excess fabric, and then we'll do this last satin stitch. After you've finished the back panel, turn your hoop the wrong way facing you, then take your little piece of ribbon that's going to be your closing flap. You're going to stitch in there and use some sticky tape just to keep it from moving during stitching. We're then going to need lining to hide the back of the embroidery. I use 505 spray to keep it in place. So add your fabric over everything. And then at the same time we're going to add the flap piece where the book slides into. That piece there we can also add at the same time. So just make sure that it overlaps. And this one I like to use sticky tape to keep it in place instead of the 505 spray. Otherwise it becomes quite sticky to try and put your book inside when there's glue between the layers. So just use enough sticky tape to ensure that nothing will slip or move during stitching. Then take it back to the machine and we're going to do the outline, and then we're going to cut the raw edges and we're going to do the final satin stitch. After we finished tacking down the bottom fabric, you're now ready to cut away the extra fabric around the edge. Cut as close to the stitches as you can without cutting the stitches. You can now go back to the embroidery machine and just stitch the final satin stitch all around. After you finish stitching the satin stitch around the edge, you can now remove it from the stabilizer. Because this is tear away, I can simply tear it from the hoop. I'm just going to use scissors to neaten up the edge. And as per in my previous video, I also like to just run a flame through the edge to burn away any fuzzies that remain. This is optional, you don't need to do this. It's personal choice. With your front finish, I already stitched my back. The back is done in exactly the same way. with the exception is that we added the little piece of ribbon for closing, and I did not add my lace in this one for a bookmarker, as I have another bookmark that I want to use, but you can also use that as a page marker that you're going to stitch in before you do the satin, while same time as you do the ribbon. We're now going to continue to add our back middle piece of our book using the quilt as you go for joining blocks method. Place your folded piece of fabric flat on the table, open edge to your left. I'm going to add my book cover on top, making sure that I've got equal spaces of flaps at the top and at the bottom, and I'm then going to add my piece of vinyl on top of that, and I'm now going to stitch through all layers 1/4 of an inch with my regular sewing machine, and then I'll show you the next step to add this one. After you finish stitching along the edge the 3 layers together, that's your front piece, the back piece, and your front book cover, you can fold it back, and in this case, because the vinyl does not hold back nicely, I'll just do a top stitch right on the edge there, just to keep it flat at this point and make sure that it lies neatly. So I'm going to fold both my flaps out, and I'm just going to quickly top stitch right on the edge to keep the fabric to the one side. As you can see, I've done the top stitching on there. If you use normal fabric, this won't be necessary, because when you open it up and you iron it flat, it will stay flat. But with the vinyl, it will melt if I put the hot iron over it, and I don't think it will make a nice crisp side for me, so I opted to do the top stitching. To add your back panel, just as it is at the moment, just fold the back fabric away for now. Take your back panel, place it right sides together. Just make sure that you line up your front and your back perfectly, and stitch the back, that small piece that you have added inside, just stitch it 1/4 of an inch to your back panel. So this is what it will look like on the back. That flap I'll show you now how to get rid of that. I've now finished stitching the back panel to the front, and when I open it up from the back, this is what it looks like. If you turn it, you'll see this flap piece open. Try and pull this back so that it's nice and straight. This one you'll overlap, and I'm just going to top stitch right on the edge from this side. Just going to stitch it in place. If you want, if it's difficult to work with it, you can either use pins or just use some 505 spray. Push back and glue it in place. Now it will lie nice and flat for you to stitch right on the edge for a neat finish. You can even stitch now from this side by using the 505 spray. You make sure it can't move, so you can stitch from this side so that you can match that top stitching evenly with on this side. Here you can see my back panel is in place, neatly stitched in. The inside is neat as well. You can trim these nice and evenly, so when you turn you can fold them inward and just top stitch along that edge to keep them down. We're now ready to insert our Bible. I'm just going to add the back for now, because we want to do the cam snap that I want to add onto. I just want to measure exactly where my front would need to go. So I just fold it over, and I'll take my sharp needle and just mark where I want the snap to go. Make a hole. Insert the back part of the snap. Let's see what dye I've got in here. Insert the dye. And I'll add the back one as well. And we're ready to add our bubble. It's quite a nice tight fit. And there you go, all done, neatly finished. If you want a name on the back, remember you'll add the name before you stitch it to your front and your back panels. As you can see, I've added names on these books. And you can even add a little Bible verse on the back. This one I left blank. I'll also include a blank pattern for you where the cross in the hands is left off, so you can add any design you want in the center, as well as the back where you will receive a blank one in the far like this. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy making these very easy to do Bible covers. I know you will have lots of fun making gifts for friends and family.